Welcome, Clear Spring Roadrunners. This is Mrs. Kim. Thank you for joining me to practice the Area Model Priority Strategy. In today's session, we will use the operation of multiplication using two-digit numbers. The numbers are 63 and 54. When we think about the number 63 with multiplication, we think about how many groups we have. There are 63 groups, or rows. For today's purpose, we're going to call them rows. We also have 54 in each one of those 63 rows. So we have 54 units in each row. Now that I've considered what I'm doing is multiplication, I have to consider how big my product will be after I multiply the two factors of 63 rows and 54 units in each row. I'm going to do that using a think box. You can use this think box throughout the problem as you're solving each one of the products. I'm going to use it to help me estimate to start. So when I'm thinking about the number 63 times 54, I'm not sure if that's in the hundreds place or the product will be up in the thousands place. So I'm going to consider numbers I do know. I know that 10 times 10 equals 100. So I know it's going to at least be in the hundreds place because 63 and 54 are larger than 10 times 10. So then I think, well, I know 60 times 10. I know 60 times 10 equals 600. So I have 63 rows, not 60. And I have 54 units in each row, not 10 units in each row. So I know it's going to be larger than 600. What if I doubled the number of units in each row and I doubled it to 20? I can multiply this one in my head also. I can do that by saying 60 times 20, or I can just double the product in the previous answer of 60 times 10. And I know that would be 1,200. So now I'm already into the thousands with my estimate. As I'm thinking through this, I realize that 63 times 54 is actually going to be in the thousands. It's not going to be in the hundreds place. I could go a step further, and I could use my think box and think about, well, I don't have 20 units in each row, but I have 54. So could I double this 20 to 40? I could do that to get a little bit closer estimate. I could do 60 times 40. I don't need to at this point because I have made my estimate decision on how many place values I'm going to need. So I know I'm going to have a number that's possibly in the thousands. I don't think it's going to be in the 10,000s. So I'm going to make my place value chart to keep track of all of the products that I create when I'm making my area model. Now as you're ready to start creating your area model for multiplication of 63 times 54, please consider and remember that when you're creating an area model, it is very similar to an array model. An array model has the grids already in the box or the squares. For an area model, we create it without all of the grids because as you're writing all of those, it's not as efficient to draw each and every one of those rows or the number in each row. So I'm going to get started with the first factor, which is 63 rows. So I'm going to be thinking as I'm drawing down, starting up here, and I'm drawing down, I'm going to be thinking I'm actually creating 63 rows. When I do that, I have to think about my place value as how many rows am I going to create until I stop. So for example, am I going to say 10 rows for this first box, or am I going to go all the way to 63 rows? I think I'm going to try 63 rows. And then this last box of rows will be my 3. So I have 60 rows that go across this way, and I have 3 rows that go here. My next factor I'm working on is 54, which is the number of boxes or units in each row. So that one goes from left to right to finish up the box. So if I have 54 rows, again I want to break it apart by place value. I can break 54 up into 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, which would be 5 tens and 4 ones, or I could just say 50 or 5 tens. So that would be about right here. So the number of units in each one of these 63 rows are 50 and 4. Now that I have my area model created based on place value, I'm going to use those place values to multiply. So now I have 60 times 50, which is this box, a 60 by 50. I also have this box to write a multiplication sentence for, which is 3 rows with 50 in each row. So 3 times 50. And have this box to write a multiplication sentence for, which is still 60 rows. I know that because this length of this side of the area model is the same length as this side of the area model. So this is still 60 rows, and there are 4 in each row. So I'm going to write that multiplication sentence as 60 times 4. Then we have this small box here in the corner that we have to write a multiplication sentence for. Again, there are still 3 rows. I know that because I've labeled this part of the box as 3 rows. And there are 4 in each row. I know that because this part of the box is labeled 4 in each row. So I'm going to label this one as a 3 by 4. 3 times 4. Now I need to solve for the products. I have each one of the factors done. I now need to solve for the products. I'm going to start with 3 times 50. I know that 50 is 5 times as many tens. So if I know 3 times 5 is 15, I know that the product of 3 times 50 would be 10 times as many. So that's 150. 60 times 50. I may not know that one right away, but I have started a think box over here that could help me with that. As I said earlier, 60 times 20 I knew was 1,200. I could use that same strategy to help me figure out 60 times 50. So I could double again, because 40 is double of 20. So I would double the product, which would be 0 ones, 0 tens, 4 hundreds, and doubling 1,000 would be 2 thousands. So I know 60 times 40 is 2,400. I need one more group to equal 50. I need one more group of 10, and I already did that one. It's 60 times 10, I said, is 600. So all I would need to do is add that one more group to 60 times 40. My 60 times 50 now is one group of 10, which is 600, and 40 groups, which is 2,400. I'm going to add those two together, and I get 3,000. I'll put my answer right here. It's 3,000. The next problem is 60 times 4. If I know 60 times 1 is 60, I need 4 groups of 60. I found out that 60 times 40 is 2,400. But I don't have 40, I have 4. So thinking about my place value and times as many, not 10 times as many or 1 times as many, I know that 60 times 4 is 240. My last problem I need to solve for is 3 times 4, which equals 12. Now that I have all of the products, I need to list them in my place value chart so I can stay organized. I don't forget any of the products to add back together. I don't want to forget any of them because then my product, my answer, won't come out correct. So I'm going to start with the largest number, which is 3,000. That's the largest product I have. I'm going to list that one in my place value chart. I'm going to go to the next largest, which is 240. I'm going to list that one by place value on place value chart. The next largest is 150 and 12. Now when I add these all together, again I start in the ones place. It's 2. I have 4 tens, 5 tens, and 1 10. That is 100, or 10 tens. So I'm going to list that as 0. I'm going to carry that place value at one group of 100 to the hundreds place. So now I have one group of 100, 2 groups of 100, and one group of 100, which would make 400. And my final place value is the thousands. I have 3,402. Once I put back together each one of the products from the array model, I have a product of 3,402. Our original problem is 63 rows with 54 units in each row. I now know that 63 times 54 equals a total of 3,402 square units or units in each, or in the area model. Now it is your turn to continue to practice the area model priority strategy in workstations at school and at home. If you need reminders for the area model priority strategy, please revisit this video. Thank you, Roadrunners. This is Mrs. Kim, your Clear Spring Math Coach.